Okay, welcome everybody to Wall Street Reporter's next Super Stock live stream. We have a very special presentation for you today coming from Paul Duffy, president of Nextech. And for anybody that's brand new to our program, our goal at Wall Street Reporter's next Super Stock is to bring you those stocks which have that 10x to 100x upside potential. We've already had just in the last 24 months 9 stocks that have increased between 10x and 50x. And we're looking for the next potential 10-bagger plus. And today, Nextech Nextech is doing a spinout, which Paul is going to be discussing, which could be that baby unicorn, which potentially could be that next 10-bagger. So, after Paul's presentation, you guys will ask your questions and then, decide for yourself if you think this could be that 10-bagger upside. Paul, so welcome to the program.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you for having me.
Paul, it's a very exciting event. I got to say, look, this is going to be something which I think could be truly transformative. It's, I remember about 2 years ago, I think we referred to Nextech as like either a unicorn farm, or a unicorn factory, because you have so many of these high potential businesses inside of Nextech, which could be worth, significant dollar amounts, right? Especially, look, the market, obviously, the tech market has crashed. The valuations are crazy then, but these markets come back, and even in today's market, a lot of these things have significant value, and especially this metaverse mapping platform that you're going to be spinning out. This could be really that, it could have that unicorn potential. So the unicorn has given birth to the baby. So this is very good pedigree. It's sort of like the Secretariat horse. It's the pedigree. From because Nextech was I think a 15x winner, went up I think 1,500%. So the offspring, which is AR Maps, it's worth keeping an eye on, right? And I can't say anything that I don't want to sound too what's the word they call in Canada, over promotional. I don't want to be accused of being over promotional, but we can't, those are the facts. The past track record, who knows what could happen in the future. So, Paul, I want to get to the main show, which is you. So let me disappear from the screen. Let me get your presentation on, and I'll come back for the questions.
Wonderful. Wonderful. Okay. Well, thanks, Jack. So you can see everything here. To the audience out there, thank you for spending some time with us today. I look forward to the next 20 or 30 minutes giving you a fairly detailed overview of the ARitize Maps platform that Jack was speaking to. We do within Nextech have a basket of great technology companies, IP assets, and others. And as we continue to develop them, obviously we're looking to see where we can gain the most value for our shareholders. And this is one such activity or pursuit. So I'm going to take you through a fairly brief presentation. It's going to focus primarily on the product, the ARitize Maps platform. It's literally a no-code spatial platform for what is dubbed the real-world metaverse. I'll then talk specifically about the first market that we are entering into with this particular product, and then what the product market fit is, and how elegant it addresses some of these opportunities within the market. And I think you'll come to realize it's very disruptive at a significant level. And then finally, I'll talk about some release timelines. We're imminent in general availability at the end of the month of June, and then we will continue to point release pretty much every 2 weeks from that point forward. So with that, let me basically take you through a little bit of a video walkthrough. This is Brookfield property in London, England. Some of you may have seen this activation before, but this is classic property looking at a brand activation, in this case, Guildhall. And obviously it was produced using our app, but literally you move your phone into the space and it triggers. Here, the property is the Toronto Metropolitan University, formerly known as Ryerson, where we have literally mapped entrances into buildings, and we've placed holographic ambassadors as well as navigational waypoints to lead you directly into the property. Very useful use case for us. Here we've got a similar use case, but the property here is a shopping mall, and the location is a Sephora retail store. And of course, once we're in the store, we've got promotional activations that we can trigger from product. A few weeks ago, we delivered this particular set of activations at the Restaurants Canada show in the NTAR Center here in Toronto. It's a 1 million square foot facility, hundreds of exhibitors. This was one of our booth activations where we had holograms, navigational wayfinding, informational images, promotional codes, etc. I'll walk you through some of this as we go through today's presentation. But all of this, I'd like to point out, was produced with no coding required. It was literally a no-code solution on our platform. And that is the key element of what I'd like to present today. The platform that we have is phenomenal in so much as we are going after the real-world metaverse. And that consists of properties, physical premises, brands, typically brands that want to activate in those locations. However, the content is produced by creators, people like us who do PowerPoint, TikTok, YouTube, Instagram, very easy to use tools that creators of any ilk and skill level can create meaningful content specifically for consumers, for the folks that just walk around with their phone and activate content. And so it's a metaverse creation tool for everybody. We wanted it to be super simple. In fact, as we were producing the technology, it became abundantly clear that it's literally as simple as 1, 2, 3. In other words, our technology, and we'll show you this today, can map spatially any location in a building. You simply take a video and our technology will produce a spatial 3D point cloud. You can then augment that space by placing all types of content, 2-dimensional content, 3-dimensional volumetric content, video, holograms, and even robust brand activations. And then finally, you can save and publish that experience either through our app, but more likely what we're seeing with our early adopters is through our SDK to their app, so that it's very seamless. And it's as simple as 1, 2, 3. So let me take you into a little bit of detail around that. Our app, the Untitled Maps app, is available today on iOS and Android. You can easily download it. I encourage everybody to give it a try in your room that you're in right now. You can take our app, you can scan your room using video, and it will, within minutes, create a 3-dimensional point cloud. Within that point cloud, you can author in the app by dragging and dropping and placing content. Content can be navigation waypoints, they can be 3D elements and assets, courtesy of our ARtized 3D Studio, of course. They can also be pop-ups, audio cues, and all sorts of interactions. So it's very powerful. And then when you're finished, you can literally save your changes and it will publish out publicly or privately to whomever you'd wish to view your app or your experience. Where the real game changer comes in, and Jack, this is what's super exciting and will be generally available at the end of June, is our creator portal and studio. This is a web-based platform that you can log into. It literally works alongside the app. So if you take a video of a room, it will actually upload behind the scenes to our portal, and you can go in and from anywhere in the world, you can produce a metaverse experience around that place. And you can do this in as little as 5 minutes or 20 minutes. And I'll show you examples today of where we spent literally under 30 minutes with a team working across Canada to produce these types of activations. But of course, like all web tools, you can do all sorts of extendability well beyond what you're able to do within the app. So it's a very meaningful platform. In addition to the portal, we've also got a pipeline for our SDK so that all the properties, brands, and creators that are using our technology can take the outputs of that technology and put it seamlessly into their app. And in time, we will also have mini apps that will allow users to output their spatial experiences, their metaverse activations through their web browser, where they don't even need an app. So in time, when we release that, you'll literally be able to go to a location or brand's website and trigger and activate a spatial experience right from the web. And finally, on the far right, it's in stealth mode now, but we'll be bringing out our creator community in the first part of July. And this is where all the creators around the planet that are using our technology can gather to share tips and tricks. We, of course, will be posting masterclasses and putting all sorts of examples up onto the web to share with our community as it grows. So it's a very powerful technology platform. Most importantly, no coding, so any of us can use it. But let's talk a little bit about the market. And we see this as the first of many. But this market is phenomenal. Believe it or not, the market itself has an interesting acronym, PLAN. Really what we do is we focus on buildings around positioning, location, and navigation. These are typically places, large places, that are somewhat complex. But inside this market, there is a cacophony of different technologies, different providers, all looking to service similarly the same use case, and that is indoor navigation. What we happen to have within our platform is a highly disruptive, highly scalable, frictionless platform that can allow any operator of a property, a steward of a brand, or a creator to produce real-world metaverse experiences directly and immediately into this marketplace. And that's exciting because first, it's a very big market. You can see the numbers here. But most importantly, when we double down into the market and we start to look at the ideal customer profile of the different types of locations that we want to essentially sell into, it becomes quite a substantive opportunity. In other words, if you can see here, everything from retail, department style stores, to stadiums, to museums, to hospitals, airports, even things like casinos, cruise ships, amusement parks, even exhibition venues, all become candidates for this technology. And again, it's very disruptive. It's disruptive for a couple of reasons. The first is our go-to-market approach focuses primarily on a product-first strategy. In other words, we let our product do the talking. We basically offer a freemium to a purchase from a monthly or an annual recurring revenue to get the product seeded into these locations. And from what we're seeing with our early adopters, it's the smartest way to go. On average, depending on the complexity and use of the application, we believe we'll see between 2,500 and sometimes as high as 50,000 per installation. And if we look at this actual market, we've got roughly over 1.3 million ideal customer profiles already identified. We think on average, we're going to see roughly about 15,000 per year, and that produces a pretty substantial TAM, or total addressable market. In fact, if we were focused on just 1 to 2% of that market, Jack, we'd be sitting between 200 and 4 million in annual revenue. So this is a rich, robust market for us with which to cut our technology into the plan space and then grow from there. So what does that mean? If I look at our product, I look at our market, and I think about the product market fit. Again, a no-code spatial platform for the real-world metaverse, focused very tightly on disrupting the positioning, location, and navigation, the plan market. We sit to make a very good opportunity real very quickly. So let me give you a typical no-code way to do this. On the left is a video of our app scanning a couch. We literally pull it out, walk around, and those green dots that you're seeing are actually producing a real-time three-dimensional point cloud. On the right here, you can see a representation of that point cloud in our studio. And within our creator community, we'll have training classes to take people from zero to hero. But once you go through this for about 5 or 10 minutes, you pick it up very quickly. You walk through the space, each one of these points has a representative image, and you're able to pull in and drop any type of content you want. So we got a bit of a secret sauce here. Our video to point cloud means that anybody can walk around any space, make a video, and we really don't have much of a limitation on the size here, and upload it so that they can create as many times as they wish a real world metaverse experience. Of course, for those that don't want to actually walk around and shoot video, we can take in floor plans. And what we're noticing with our early adopters is that they're doing a combination of both. They're bringing in a floor plan onto our web studio. They're finding areas within the floor plan that they'd like point clouds, that is 3D spatial objects, typically walls, or if there's stuff in the hallway or tables, etc. Those can be identified easily on the floor plan. Once you've got that, you can basically go in and drop location waypoints throughout the floor plan. It can be as small as one floor, you can have many floors, or it can even traverse buildings. But once you do those location points, our app knows where they sit within the spatial location, and it will guide you to it. And as you can see here on the right, it'll tell you, walk forward. It'll give you the approximate distance. And when you get there, it'll tell you what the next step is. So very powerful from that perspective. So location waypoints are a great use case in that plan market. In fact, it's almost impossible to find a technology that will literally allow you to drop location waypoints on an indoor environment and get you to navigate with the press of a button. So it's incredible. Another thing we do is touring. Think of these as meta tours. So not only can you have locational waypoints within the framework of the floor plan or the space or the property, but you can also produce robust tours. And these are guided. They take you through the location step by step. And of course, at each step, you can trigger all sorts of spatial content. And that's what's really exciting, because when you start to think about what's possible within this floor plan, within this space, now I can begin to produce all forms of activations. So if I'm a property, I have a floor plan, I've got location endpoints, I've got a tour, or I just want to do an activation, a brand can come in and produce sponsorship programs. They can do advertising. They can do product announcements. There's a lot of different and meaningful ways to engage the consumer through the space. And that's what we're finding. So of course, once we've produced all this, let's see what it looks like when I publish. So this was done literally in less than 20 minutes, 3 weeks ago at the Restaurants Canada show. Hannah, who's our Metaverse user, literally used our app to go in and actually, first of all, she steps in, she uses the app, and it visually positions her to the entry point within the hallway of the exhibition. Once she's there, she knows that she wants to go to the bar and beverage pavilion. And so she will literally activate that path. And that path will appear and walk her through this large exhibition hall. And as she's going through this process, you'll notice on the left here, we've got a promotion calling out through an image. As we continue to go through, we'll see some other promotions, but these are all location-centric and activated as she walks by them. Once she finds the showcase, it arrives at her destination. She's got holograms to greet her. As she's walking around, the content's persistent. She's going specifically to this booth, Teetotaler Wines, and she's able to go in, and you can see they've activated some additional content around, but basic things like pop-ups, audio cues, banner ads, promotional codes, all of these types of interactions become possible once you're using our platform. And there's no code involved here. It's just very easy. It's copy and paste. It's at the same level of building a PowerPoint presentation, which is exactly what we wanted to do. So as a reward, Hannah decides, I'm going to try some of the sparkling rosé, and she gets a glass from the activation. So it's very useful from that perspective. And so as I go through that process, what we're able to do is map, create the content, publish. But here, I think, Jack, is the most exciting part of everything we do. We have a full location intelligence analytics engine releasing with our platform. And we think this is absolutely game-changing. As we studied the use cases, what we quickly began to realize was that the data capture that we were gathering through the use of our application really led to some very rich location intelligence that properties and brands thrive on. And so this is as meaningful an output in our exercise as all the activation and fun stuff that we're doing. And so this in its entirety is how our product fits into the planned market. We think that as we enter that market, we've got three very strong value props that are really going to dominate. And we're seeing this with our early adopters. First of all, there's what we call our meta maps. So these are, as you saw through the videos and through the examples, they're indoor AR enhanced navigation, hyper accurate, but it's indoor. So these are the places when you walk to the front door that the Google Maps, the Apple Maps, and Waze can't get into. Well, we can. And we can do it through simply using video to create the point cloud, and then our platform to effectively produce all the other elements with no code. Also, what we call spatials are activated AR content. And these can exist as either pop-ups, hotspots, videos, but they can also be very robust AR experiences. They could be training modules. They could be exploded views. They could be full-on volumetric human holograms. All of those are in production today with our early adopters. And then finally, the location intelligence. This provides the deep insights from the customers or the consumers that are using these activations in the properties. And this type of data is gold for the property managers, the property operators, and of course the brands that are participating. And so that is in theory everything that we have packaged for release. As we get into the market, I'd like to just share with you one of our early adopters. This is a hospital. This is a very typical activation. But what I want to point out here is that we'll put together a very complete description of the program, a very complete user experience. The creator experience will also be well documented, but we'll focus everything intently on the value proposition and success metrics. And in fact, this activation has worked so well, we've actually got peer-reviewed content journal submissions, if you can believe it, where people have actually measured the efficacy, the ability to use AR-enhanced indoor navigation over that of traditional signage and other forms, to the point where they've measured it to be approximately 50% greater or more efficient. So from a hospital's point of view, for instance, that means things like time-sensitive navigation can be improved. They can relieve pressure from support staff at the hospital who are being asked about where can I go for this meeting or where do I go for that lab test. And finally, things like danger zones or do not go to locations can easily be resolved. So with that, Jack, I'd like to kind of just sort of wrap up and provide a little bit of an outline on the release plan for the technology and the product as we bring it into market. We've already launched our app. We point release the app probably every 2 weeks, but it's available on iOS and on the Android store. The actual portal itself will have general availability at the end of June. And this is where you'll be able to go in and create these robust meta maps, spatials, and of course, use our analytics engine for location intelligence, all from a single no-code portal. And then at the same time, will be available the first generation of our SDK toolkit. This will allow brands and properties who have their own app to seamlessly integrate the outputs from our creator portal to their app. And of course, at any time you can output and use all your content on our ARitized Maps app. It's very powerful from that perspective. So to conclude, Jack, what I'm really looking at doing here is actually monetizing the real world metaverse. And you know, that's brands, it's properties, it's a bunch of creators all over the planet creating these rich, robust experiences for all of us consumers as we're going through those locations. So with that, Jack, I think I can conclude here and take any questions you might have.
Paul, can you hear me?
I can.
Okay, fantastic. So really very exciting. We've got a bunch of questions. I hope we're going to have time to go through all of them. I mean, look, my takeaway on this is that I understand. I mean, why you guys are doing the spin out. I think it's going to be, number one, it's going to be very transformative. This thing was just too good to keep kind of like under wraps. It has to be a pure play. I mean, this by itself, I mean, the comps in the space you're in is like Matterport. I mean, again, obviously you have to do execution, but the markets you're addressing, the multi-billion-dollar opportunities, and especially, I think the big thing is, right now, it's limited to the phone, but once the glasses come out, then it's then it's so much easier to use. And Apple, I think, this is imminent now, right? They're already talking about it. We were expecting it a year ago, but now Apple, everybody's doing I think I'm seeing ads now for the Snap, or like Ray-Ban is doing some sort of metaverse glass. So we're almost there. I think that is going to be the thing that really supercharges this. And shit, I mean, I think ultimately this could be bigger than Nextech. I mean, you're going to be running this company. You're going to be the CEO of the new entity, of the spinoff.
Yeah, that's
AR Maps. Okay.
Yeah.
I hope Evan is not going to be jealous, because this might be bigger than Nextech. You might outshine Evan here with this.
What I think, Jack, is really key, and by the way, thank you for all that, but this technology has been, I'll call it, in stealth for the better part of a year. We identified the market and the opportunity early. We knew that we would have subsequent releases of the tech. We knew how to step into it. I can tell you we have some very exciting early adopters that I'm hopeful, as we go through summer, we will be able to formally announce, because they are at a very significant scale. But more importantly, Jack, what we're noticing is you're spot on, that when the eyewear becomes available, and I mean, you can do this today. We can output, to a VR headset, but in truth, who's going to walk around a venue with a VR headset? But when the eyewear, the low-cost, lightweight eyewear is prevalent, this is exactly the level of output that will demand the market. In other words, everybody will be able to create spatial content within a space, and then experience it not just through their phone, but through their eyewear. And that is just going to blow the whole opportunity wide open.
Yeah, and I think really this, and then we've been talking about this, it's once we go to the form factor, the lightweight form factor of the eyewear, that's going to be really the game changer. I mean, like it's sort of like the big thing in Canada is to say go where the puck is where the puck is heading. You got to be where the puck is. Don't chase after the puck. So for the last few years, investors have been where the puck is heading. So we've been with Nextech. And now I think in the next year, everybody's going to start chasing this puck. But essentially, the company has been early, and now the market's going to catch up. How different are you than Matterport? Is this like, what's the, I'm like, can they do this, or what's the kind of overlap?
It's a great question. So I would say it's substantively different on a number of levels. The first is our video to point cloud capability is incredible. And I mean, truthfully, just download the app and play with it, and it just gets better and better. I mean, Jack, we're talking about billions of people being able to walk around their offices, their homes, their auditoriums, their venues. They're at an art gallery, they're at a museum. There is no friction. They can make a video, save it, give it a name, and on the spot, pull in any bit of content, package, and publish that quickly. So first of all, there's no tech that does that. So Matterport, if I'm thinking just in a home, it's that simple. Second, I can put all sorts of spatials into that experience. A spatial could be a hologram of you, Jack. It could be an audio of you. It could be a picture of you. But more likely, it's a brand's product, a fridge. It's a coffee maker. And then I click on it and I get all the information I want about that particular product, but it's already in my home. And so it feels like it's already part of where I live. And that you just can't do with products and technologies like Matterport.
No, I think it's going to be really incredible. Once, let's say the glasses come in, essentially what you're doing is, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's like, you've used that phrase, Paul, you've used that phrase, monetizing the metaverse before, right?
Yeah.
And this literally is, because essentially once you have the indoor maps, right, the indoor plan, you pop up those ads that are related. So like somebody's walking through the show like you did, all of a sudden we can pop up related ads, or they're at I don't know, a museum, wherever it is. There's, and it's incredible. And I think you mentioned stadiums. You're talking to stadiums now, sports. Like that's a big opportunity because you get people to walk around. They buy a beer. They buy I don't know. Actually, I don't know. They buy all sorts of expensive stuff there, merchandise.
Everything.
Imagine this: you go to I don't know, whatever. I don't even know who the musicians are these days. I'm like Evan, like whatever it is, I don't know, Britney Spears or whatever. You go to a Britney Spears concert, and you got everybody's people who are going. They're fans, obviously, right? So they got the thing, and then it tells them, hey, go here for the special thing, and here's the T-shirts, here's the special secret whatever, the fan club thing here, and here's where they sell overpriced drinks. So yeah, it's an incredible opportunity. Let's get into some questions. Enough about me. Let's see what the audience has to say, because that's what this is about. Okay, hang on a second. Okay, there's a bunch of questions. Hopefully I can catch up. Okay, from what I understand, Evan, this next, in case anybody, Evan, the CEO of Nextech, he'll be back next week. We'll do a live stream. He's going to go into all the details. Today, we're just doing like a little teaser. This is a teaser. Paul, you're not going to talk about any details, right? This is just a teaser.
Right.
Give people the teaser, and then Evan will talk about the details of the spin out, how many shares, when. Okay.
Right.
Okay, so let's catch up to the questions. Hang on. Okay. Okay. How is the balance sheet going to look for AR? Oh, after the spin-off, how much cash? How much? Okay, so I think Evan will talk about that next week. We should say that, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Let's do that because he'll go the details because the transaction is still going through here. So okay. Will there be? Okay, so that's another one. Yeah. OTC ticker. Yeah, I believe yes. I mean that's the main idea. I think most of the trading in Nextech is in the U.S. right now. I mean, pretty much.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Here's a question. Has the CEO of Airbnb been contacted and asked to integrate this mapping option for their hosts?
We have not spoken specifically to the CEO, but I'll just say groups like Airbnb, VRBO, and others definitely fit within our planned market. That is the position, location, and navigation segment. There is no question. You hit your question, and from the attendee is right on the nose. It is exactly an excellent use case. What's interesting specifically about that, and this is where I find this entire business, both the technology as well as the opportunity, quite compelling. Anybody that owns an Airbnb host, as they say, can create one of these rich, spatial, robust experiences on their own. They can download our app today. They can scan their home. They can place holograms, footnotes, audio notes. Here's how to use the coffee. Here's the Netflix password. Here's how you use the garage door, et cetera, et cetera. Publish it and make it available, and it will only appear to those that walk in their house. It's the perfect use case. And if you think about more complex buildings, it just takes that wonderful use case and expands it even more. And frankly, the whole idea of being a product-led sales approach means that the hosts of those Airbnbs can try this for free. They can see the value, and then they can pay up as they go. And we believe that is the way to storm this market fast and deeply. So great question, Jack. Thank you.
Adult industry. Okay, maybe this is not safe for this is not for the public. Okay, so yeah, there's definitely you can add different. Obviously, people who are marketing oriented, they know how to get people to use these things, right? So we can figure it out. All right. So let's see here. Shares are going. Okay, so so next week, Evan is going to talk about details, spin out, etc. Here's what I want to ask you, Paul. So once this thing spins out, the main thing I think, which is very important, is how do we get, like investors, they have no patience, right? I think you got a grace period of, 60 days, okay. After that, they want to see contracts, deals, revenues, momentum. We got to get, a lift off. We got to get, what is it? Altitude. within 90 days, in my opinion, with any stock, right? So what's the plan for doing that?
Well, that's a great question. So, for the, as I mentioned, we've been operating quite quietly in stealth mode, but that doesn't mean we haven't been speaking directly to customers. We call them early adopters, and some of them are quite substantial. And, much of what I'm presenting you today was shown to them, I'll say several weeks, many months ago, to gauge their appetite for conversion. And so as we continue to unfold this, I think the timing is working quite well. It's our belief that, once we are in market for the first of, I'll call it July, the start of Q3 calendar, we believe within 90 days, we will continue to amass early adopters and convert several to annual clients. We see the opportunity as being very rich. Demand in the market is very high. And the value proposition is just very strong. In other words, if you don't use this technology, somebody else will come into your space, map it, and frankly, create spatial content. And so if you're a property or you're a brand, you want to get in early. And that's frankly what we're seeing. And that's why we focus the tech to be no code, because of all the other comps that are in the industry, the Matterports, the Niantics, the Apple, Metas. You need to be a gaming developer, or you need to have a pipeline of producers who work with a multitude of different skill sets to generate the same level of content. Whereas here, if you're fairly literate on PowerPoint, you can build any spatial you want, publish it, and put it into that space. And to be frank, that's how we see the properties and the brands adopting, certainly in the early days. I'll call it the first 6 months of going to market. Because with zero barrier to entry like that, they can test and pilot in a day very easily. And so we're lining the business up to be product-led. In other words, the user's experience of our product is as much of our intellectual property as is the core engineering and technology that sits behind it. And you see this with all great products. Canva, Figma, Slack, Dropbox, they're all seamless, easy to use, high scale products. And that's essentially what you're looking at here with ARtized maps.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, what kind of news flow do you think once this thing starts trading, which I think we're expecting first week of July roughly?
No, I don't think it'll trade that fast, Jack. I think, and again, we'll share details as we go through next week, but in theory, and I think this is all publicly available in the most recent press release, we're looking at completing a definitive agreement by the end of June. Obviously, we're operating under the assumption that we're firm, we've got a binding LOI. And then we will go in front of the TSX, the OSC, and we will spend probably July and August going through that process. And likely as we exit the summer, we're hopeful that we're trading then. May happen earlier, but oftentimes it takes long. We just don't know. Some of that's out of our control.
Okay. So that's that's very exciting. But I'm assuming once it does start trading, what kind of news flow do you think investors can expect? Is there for the first, let's call it that first 12-week period where you got to get?
I think it'll be quite frothy.
Okay.
There's going to be a couple things, Jack, too, and this is a bit different than the approach within the context of Nextech. This is the buyers of this platform are properties and brands, but the producers, the people that will create the content, they're called creators, right? And we're going to produce a full-on creator community as part of this process. And so really, what does that mean? It means that multiple times a week, we will be doing live broadcasts to this creator community, showing them the tips, the tricks, and the techniques that our clients are using to produce these spatials, these maps, these meta tours, and showing them the location intelligence and analytics that they're getting from it. And we believe that creator community will foster and grow. And of course, within that audience, there will be brands, there will be properties, but there will also be investors or potential investors. And they'll get deep insight into exactly what we're doing and how. And in the course of that dialogue, we'll also be sharing the wins, who's onboarded, the clients we've got, the amount of activations that are happening. It's going to be pretty fun, Jack. There's a lot lining up right now.
Okay, so a couple of interesting questions. Okay, so somebody was asking, okay, what's the patent position here?
Oh, it's a good question. So several. And what we're also coming to discover, which I think is quite interesting, is not only are there the, I'll call it engineering and technology patents, a number of which are underway. We refer to internally here as a bit of a patent thicket. But there's also an awful lot of intellectual property around our customer and user experience that we're noticing are candidates, strong candidates for patent protection as well. More process-related patents as opposed to the technology, but it is definitely—
That's better. I think that's better.
In many cases it is, because the tech you can see here is galloping.
Yeah.
I'll give you a good example, Jack. Last week I was in Santa Clara at the Augmented World Expo. I spoke at one of the panels specifically on 3D content, pipelines, workflows. But I could tell you, walking that floor, first of all, Ori Imbar, who created it, obviously a board member at Nextech.
We haven't heard from him in a while. I remember we did the live stream with him.
Oh yeah, no, great guy. Well, I mean, this it's thriving. There's just, the fella's got he is ground zero.
Yeah, from
without
reality. Yeah.
And so going down there and just being around everybody and seeing the activation, the energy, etc., is all great. But what I walked away with was, Nextech is so well positioned in the world of AR, particularly with our point of view around the 3D modeling, and now our view here within the context of maps and disrupting that plan market, the positioning, location, and navigation, because those are truly sustainable, long-term business models that are creating revenue today. When you go into these types of, conferences, and they're full of thousands of people, great engineering, great technology, you're really getting a frame, if you would, for the outer years of what's possible. And that's exciting. It's always good to see. But when you pull it back to the here and now, I tell you, it's very comforting to know that Nextech and what we've been doing has been right down the middle. It is probably the strongest, and literally from a business planning and a business case point of view. And I think people will come to realize that in the coming quarters as they see our 3D business beginning to thrive. I mean, we're obviously doing very well right now, but it's just galloping in what's happening. So, very proud of the team, but it was interesting to see that from an AWE perspective. And I bring that back to this business, Jack, because there was an awful lot of interest around what's possible around indoor navigation. It's been a market that's been ripe for disruption. You could see when I showed earlier some of the players in the space. It's a cacophony of all types of different technologies. And here we've got this, augmented reality business stepping in with a pipeline of technology that just almost frictionlessly allows any player in that space to activate these types of experiences with that type of content.
I could see this. The use cases really are just. I mean, we haven't even scratched the surface, because I think the thing that's going to be the real driver, like we talked, is going to be the glasses or some other form factor, which is a little bit more kind of easy, more what's the word, intuitive, or than a phone, and because this could be, again, monetizing the metaverse, like people, indoors, you have these malls, right? Malls, they need to kind of get the traffic back. You have, I don't know, is it $1 trillion in real estate that's invested in malls,
crazy, right?
Indoor, whatever the number is, right?
Yeah.
All these people, they are very serious about, getting traffic through, creating excitement. And with this thing, people say, hey, you take the AR map and this will give you a tour and you'll get special offers or different. Basically, you incentivize people to use it, then you monetize. Okay, you're walking, all of a sudden you get a restaurant offer, you get this offer, you get that, and then that's how they basically monetize the whole foot traffic that's going through there beyond just the sale. So, great question that somebody just asked. I should ask. I'm not sure if he's asking what I'm thinking he's asking, but. Okay, is Google Maps? Is Google going to be doing anything similar? Which is, I'm sure they have to be. Are they? They have to be doing. And my question is, at some point, what you're doing is a very strategic fit for somebody. Potentially, this could be a buyout. I mean, because look, I mean, the valuation of Nextech is under 100 million right now, right?
Yeah.
For a company like a Google, an Apple, whatever it is. I mean, even Elon Musk can write a check out of his, petty cash account, right? I mean, it's like, $1 billion, whatever the number is.
Right.
So back to this: is Google doing anything? Do you know of anything at Google?
Well, here's what I'll kind of, here's what I'll say. Lots of large tech companies looking into this space for a number of reasons. Google and Apple, by the way, for the most part, have a lock on the outdoor navigation. How much of that they turn into spatial or metaverse, I think, is still to be determined. And we fit wonderfully within that aperture or framework of opportunity as well. But if I focus internally or indoor navigation, they're blocked because they don't own those properties. And they're not publicly available properties. The airspace within those facilities, in theory, is owned by the operator, by the property owner. And so what's really interesting here is you got this, dynamic where outdoor is somewhat publicly available to be mapped, but indoor, not so much. And so this is why we're seeing an awful lot of interest, because the hurdle to activate an indoor map is your phone. You take it out, you use our app, you make a video, and you got a point cloud. You got a spatial map of your space. And now you can do all sorts of things with it, Jack. Just as you said, the opportunities are endless. And by the way, you don't necessarily need to have location points that guide you to something. You could be walking through that mall and you can have an invisible marker that basically is a promo code that gets activated when you walk within a few feet of that location. Your phone jingles and a pop-up comes up with a promo that is very time sensitive. It could have been placed there 15 minutes before because our location intelligence told you there was a herding of traffic. You place that promo, they turn right and they walk into the store. That's another great use case within the context of the retail environment. To do something like that today without our tools or our technology stack, very expensive, very multiple people involved, different skill sets. Here, one person, and it can be done as often as they want. It's that simple.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. There's so many different use cases where this could be monetized. I think we'll try. I think we have time for just one or two last questions. And again, next week we'll have the details. We want to make this a two-part live stream. We want to leave people hungry for more. So Evan will be back next week to talk with the details and all that. There was okay. So where was a comment about? Okay, will there be an option to purchase items within a map that somebody has created, and then part of that sale, basically e-commerce within the map, and then Nextech gets a percentage of that, or even percentage of the ad revenues? Can you get a percentage of transactions and ad revenues?
Short answer, Jack, is absolutely yes. It will not just be for the, I'll call it click-through for the purchase of the product, but it will also be in the context of sponsorship, where a specific space, and that's why we call them spatial. So it's not just a banner ad that would go up, but it would actually be a full volumetric experience. Could be multiple ads or multiple activations within a space, but we will get a percentage of that as well.
Okay. Let's see here. Okay, so most exciting tech I might have seen. Oh, wow, this is okay.
Try it. Download the app and play with it.
Oh, they can
hear from you.
Okay. Where can they download this? Apple.
So yeah, just go to the Apple Store.
Okay.
Android Store. And what's really exciting.
So they can actually download this mapping software right now.
Oh yeah.
Okay, it's not vaporware as people say about.
Like everything I showed you today, you've seen in this demo, was done on the app.
Yeah. Okay, it's legit. Yeah. Okay, phenomenal. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so I think we've covered everything. Okay, so next week we're gonna be back. We'll talk about the details. And one last Paul. So I think somebody was asking. So you're gonna be the CEO of the map business of the Metaverse Maps. Are you still going to be working with Nextech? Are you going to be wearing two hats like an Elon Musk, or you're going to be doing rockets, drilling underground? What are you going to be doing?
Yeah, no, it's only so much time. Realistically, there's only so much time in a real day. So, basically, I think we'll cover those details more next week, more with Evan. But yes, the idea is that I would come in and drive this business. It's a wonderful opportunity. The team that is involved in it, that have been working on it now for, some of them as long as a year, it's ready to be unleashed. And the idea is that, as we go through the next several months, it's strictly to take the tech. Again, it's product-led sales, right? The product's going to speak for itself. And, as we begin to sort of onboard clients, we'll continue to monetize and develop from there. So yeah, it's an exciting time, Jack. I think it'll be myself and a couple of others. But it's a great team, no question.
Okay, so this is a landmark milestone. The first baby unicorn from the unicorn farm is actually entering the world. Now the question people are probably going to be wondering is, in a month or two, is okay, what other baby unicorns do you have? What other unicorn eggs are going to be hatching? Because you have other things in there that could be as big, right? Like you want to drop hints, or should we wait till next week?
I know
there's a few things.
I'll let Evan do the hint dropping.
Okay.
There are some amazing technologies within Nextech, and what I will say also is that the existing tech that we have around 3D, Airtized 3D, and that entire suite is phenomenal. And I don't want to say broad stroke it as 3D models. Because that is in essence the category and the position. But it is a deep, deep well of technology. There is an engineering team, there's a sales and marketing team that are doing extraordinarily amazing things with that technology. And and it's growing. It's something I think everybody at Nextech is super proud of. At the same, so what I'm saying there, Jack, is not only do we have a lot of, I'll call them baby programs, if you would, really incubated technology opportunities that are finding formation around commercialization, like maps. But we've also got deep sustainable tech in the world of 3D. And everything that I showed you today, regardless of how easy it is to use, all requires a 3D asset. The whole metaverse, whether it's real world, in other words, overlaid within our physical, or whether it's a virtual metaverse, a la Meta and walking around in VR, all of it requires 3D content. And that is what Nextech has done extraordinarily well. So, that I think is going to continue to grow and thrive. I'll let Evan speak to some of the others that are, sort of, I would say, forming, but they're very exciting, very exciting.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, I think look, it's a really compelling opportunity right now, because this really is becoming the pure play for AR, metaverse, and these disruptive technologies, which you were 2 years ago when this really started, or maybe 2.5, 3 years ago when you guys really launched it. It was still in the early stages. The market hasn't caught up. Now these things are more and more mainstream. And again, once these glasses drop, and this has been the thing, I think, we've been talking about for the last, 2 years. So once the Apple glasses, that's going to be like the game changer. It's going to be sort of like, I remember, I remember when I was, okay, this is a conversation I had in this is 1995. I was like an analyst for this company, right? I'm doing like research reports, and the CEO, it's a tech company. By the way, the phones, we had cell phones. It was cell phone. It was a big brick. I don't like this brick. And he tells me, hey, listen, this thing, they're going to have a camera in this. And there's also going to be the internet in this thing. And there's going to be email. By the way, this is before email was even, I didn't have email anymore. And I'm like I was saying, who needs a phone and a camera? Who'd want internet? Like, I don't get it. So, and sure enough, the Apple, and once the iPhone came out, because of the whole thing, it changes everything. And I don't know if there's is it $1 trillion in value that they've created with all the different apps? For sure, because you have what is it, Uber, all these different apps are all as a result of the smartphone, right?
Oh, yeah.
So as with metaverse, once the form factor becomes, you could have potentially $1 trillion in new value, new apps created. And Nextech right now is at the epicenter of the early stage. I think that's the ground floor opportunity for investors. So, on that note, this guy, let this guy have the last word. Go Jojo. Paul, on that note, I want to thank you everybody for joining us. We'll see you all next week on the Nextech live stream. Paul, thank you again.
Excellent. Thank you.